Hey folks, so I have a bunch of different video ideas and I've been getting super caught up on the idea of having to edit them all and put them up and post-production, blah blah blah. And because of that I haven't been filming, and I figure I'll actually just film and send out into the world what I can, even if it's not the best thing ever, and production value will come with time. So today I'm going to tell you about my different diagnoses and sort of the onset of my illness. I don't want to make the video too long, but I think it'd be good to have this information out there because I'm sure I'll be referencing different stuff in future videos. So I'm not going to be editing this a lot, so bear with me. We will try to get this done. First off, I tend to say I got sick to refer to the onset of my illness, but Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is a genetic progressive connective tissue disorder. The genetic part means that I've had it my whole life, so a lot of my symptoms weren't really apparent until an onset, but I didn't develop Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I've always had it. So when I say I got sick, I just mean sort of when it became an issue or a bigger issue. And then following that onset is when I started going to doctors and seeking treatment and diagnosing and stuff like that. My onset was in January, February of 2013, following not a round of antibiotics, but the antibiotics that I took, there were two, and they were both just like one time. But it was a lot, and my body just kind of didn't recover, and then I started getting symptoms, and they, progressively got worse, which is how this works. Okay, so like I said, my primary diagnosis is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and there are 9 EDS types now. There were 6, and there's either 9 or 10 now, and then there's some unclassified, but still a thing ones. And as doctors and professionals are starting to understand EDS more, it's become clear that it's more of an umbrella term for a lot of different issues, but for right now, EDS. I don't have a type diagnosed. It took a while for me to get diagnosed because my presentation is kind of atypical and just because of how our healthcare system works. My primary symptoms with EDS are joint pain and stiffness, muscle pain, fatigue, and weakness, and my muscles do get shaky if they're particularly weak and or particularly fatigued, and that can limit my mobility sometimes. Joint instability, which has become more apparent as my muscles get weaker. So if the muscles are around the joint protecting it, and as they get weaker, my joints become more wobbly because the muscles aren't holding them where they're supposed to be. Overall fatigue, so there's muscle fatigue where my muscles get tired, but then both physical and mental fatigue has increased a lot since I got sick. When I first got ill, it was particularly bad. I didn't know how to handle it, so it was going home in between classes every day to take naps. Now I know how to manage it. I, carry a full-time job, and sometimes my illness impedes on that, but generally not because of fatigue. Exercise intolerance and fatigue, so that, it's kind of clear that just goes along with everything else I've mentioned, but this is something that has always been true for me. So even when I was a kid, exercising was really hard for me, and it still is. Headaches and migraines, so I get headaches pretty consistently. I'm on medication that helps limit them, but prior to being on those meds, I was getting headaches every day. And I started getting migraines when I was about 9, when stress levels increased for various reasons. And I don't get migraines a ton. I'm lucky in that regard. I don't get a lot of migraines, and the medication I have generally manages them, and I know how to ward them off when they start. I don't get aura with my migraines, so it's not a severe migraine problem, but I do get them. And I don't just get headache migraines, I also get stomach migraines. When I first got sick, I was getting a lot of stomach migraines with eye pain, but not actual headache, because of fluorescent lights, and that, not fun to be inside and just feel like you have to puke, and sometimes that still happens. I have brain fog, which is pretty common for people with chronic illnesses, so I, forget more things than I used to. I remember less things than I used to. This is probably a conversation for another video, but it's hard to get used to, because I used to be somebody who didn't have to take notes ever. I just took them so that there was something to do with my hands. And now I actually sometimes forget what I learned in class. I have a lot of food sensitivities, which is super common for people with EDS, and I will discuss those more later. I also have histamine reactions to all kinds of things, which is new. That's like brand new, so we'll see how that keeps going. I get shakiness that's not from muscle fatigue, if that makes sense. So like sometimes I'll like look at my hands and be like, oh, they're shaking. I don't know why, like I'm trembling. It could very well be a side effect of a medication, and I'm not aware of that. I don't really know. And that's also probably a conversation for another time. Before I got diagnosed with EDS, I was diagnosed, as lots of chronically ill people are, with fibromyalgia, and that diagnosis in and of itself took years, but I don't know now that I have the EDS diagnosis if I still have a fibro diagnosis or not. Not sure. I have GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. That's actually the first diagnosis I got. And then I have IBS, which is more or less associated with the GERD. So I have acid reflux and pain and bloating and gas and all the fun, great things that come along with that, along with food intolerances that are kind of different than the food sensitivities. Another diagnosis I have is PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a hormone imbalance that causes the eggs in my ovaries to become cystic, and they cause me pain, as well as inconsistent menstruation, which is like sort of the most commonly noticeable symptom of PCOS and like how people start to go towards diagnosis. I've never had a consistent period. I've been menstruating for 11 years, and there's no consistency. There never has been. It doesn't matter what I do. And then the hormone imbalance and sort of inconsistencies and ups and downs that PCOS causes, I think paired with my EDS is it's not good. There's some research to show that EDS does not respond well to estrogen and progesterone. My estrogen and progesterone going up and down all the time because of the PCOS just sort of makes my EDS symptoms go up and down also. And then I have depression, which is not like 100% diagnosed in my file, but I've been medicated for it for a number of years, and it's recognized medically by all of my providers. I think they're just all kind of resistant to put it down. And then my depression and also my anxiety, which is also not totally in my chart, are a conversation for another video. But they are both things that I've dealt with for a long time. Multiple other videos will cover those things. And then I have a bunch of different like sensory processing issues that a lot of the time can be really hard to parse out from anxiety because the way I experience them can be similar. Not all of them, right? So like the sound of styrofoam like hurts me to my core. It is, and like styrofoam touching styrofoam or touching cardboard. I hate it so much. But then there's other sensory stuff like when I'm in big crowds, I get overstimulated, and that a lot of the time can also feel like anxiety. So, and then I have Raynaud's, which is just sort of goes along with if you have EDS, which just means that I have bad circulation in my appendages. So my hands and my feet primarily are cold constantly. They can turn red or purple when it's really cold, things like that. And then I have leukopenia, which is a fancy word for saying my white blood cell count is lower than it should be and has been for years, and that just makes me a little more susceptible to getting sick and things like that. Just means I'm a little immunocompromised. Okay, I am way more long-winded than I'd like to be. I apologize. So food sensitivities include gluten, soy, anything artificial, which includes preservatives and things like MSG, dairy, beans, and like probably other stuff. So the first three, gluten, soy, and artificial, can't have at all. They cause widespread body pain for days on end. It kind of feels like having the flu for like 4 or 5 days, that level of like pain and discomfort. Dairy and beans are more digestive issues. So they're uncomfortable, they don't feel good, but they don't cause like systemic issues or pain or inflammation. And then there's probably other stuff that I shouldn't be eating, but it's hard. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, click like, click subscribe, share it with your friends, and I'll see you next time. Okay, bye!